Hey there, Bolters. My name's William Sayer, the Customer Enablement Lead here at Bolt. And this video is a recording of a workshop that we held for our premium customers here at Bolt. And now we're sharing it with you. In this video, we're covering a few main things. First of all, we're going to start off by showing you some of Bolt's best practices, such as enhancing your prompt and using plan mode to get the most out of Bolt. After that, we're going to create an internal feedback tool which acts as a way for users to log in and leave feedback within their organization. Now, we're going to be using Google Authentication to enable this. So it's a fantastic way to help improve your click-through rate when people come to your site. After that, we're going to be using SQL queries within your Bolt database and running your own SQL query yourself so that you can refine the rows. Finally, we're going to be editing the email templates that's sent out from Bolt to your users. We hope you enjoy the workshop. Let's dive in. To start off with, let's do a product demo of what we end up building in this workshop. So you notice that we've got sign up with Google. We've already created an account, so we're going to use Google to log in. Now, notice because it's an internal tool, if I try and sign in with my personal Gmail, it doesn't work and it gets blocked, and it's organization only. But you'll have the choice to configure this when you're setting up your project. Now, if we look at our feedback, we've got 2 feedback items. Now we're going to do a test. Feedback test 1. We're going to add a screenshot. We're going to submit the feedback. And notice that it does get added to the Bolt database so that we can view the screenshot as well. Now, up the top, we've got the profile avatar and the user's signed in email address. So that's what we'll be creating. I hope you're excited to learn how to do so. And with that, let's jump into the workshop. One of the big benefits of my role being customer enablement lead is I get a lot of Bolt credits. So what I want to do right now is basically show 3 different prompts, and I'm going to build with them all simultaneously so we can basically get understanding of how Bolt interacts with each of the prompts and the project that I build out for each of them. So I'll read out the initial prompt, the basis of the prompt. Let's build an internal feedback tool where the user's goal is to leave feedback about a product. I like to start with a generic overview of what the product does. The initial page should be a full page sign-in logout page with email or Gmail. Once signed in, the user should see a page header at the top. Under that should be 2 centered, rounded, mutually exclusive page tabs for give feedback and view feedback. On the give feedback page, there should be 1 input box where users can add feedback text. On the view feedback page, they should be able to see all the previous feedback which has been left and search and filter this. Feedback should also show who it was added by. Please create a Bolt database and allow for all of these capabilities. I'll let the page to use a clean and minimalistic UI. Great. So that's our initial prompt. We're going to copy this over. We're going to put this in one of our Bolt builders. Notice that we're starting with 95.5 million tokens. So I'm just going to make a little note of that here. So you guys get a basic understanding of what the token consumption is throughout the build. So let's paste it in. Great. Now I'm not gonna, as some of you may know, we've got the enhanced prompt feature, we've got the plan feature. I'm not gonna do any of that for this prompt. Great, so I'm gonna build that now. We're just gonna kick that off. Now, let's come back to our prompt page again. It's probably already copied the clipboard, but what I'm gonna do is this time, sorry, the Zoom thing keeps popping up in the way. Here we go. So this time, notice that because I'm on the same account, we've also got the 95 million token count here. So that won't be super relevant because we're not going to end up using either of these 2 projects. We will use this third one, which is on a different account, and it has 300 million tokens. So that's probably more to pay closer attention to because I've only got 2 accounts. Anyway, what I'm going to do this time, which I recommend, and we'll see the results of this, is we're going to come in and we're going to hit enhance prompt. So we'll let it do its thing. It gives a bit of context. This is sort of like a custom prompt that we have. It's almost like a custom GPT, and it basically refines the prompt specifically for Bolt and how Bolt works. Great. We're also going to put this one in plan mode. So we're going to send off this build. Now, plan mode basically is just kind of, it allows more token consumption. It allows the basically the agent to think through anything that it probably doesn't have the context for just yet before building. So as I said, it uses more tokens, but it adds a little bit more features. Like an example that I've noticed is if you do plan mode compared to not, you might see like toasts appearing when you're updating your settings or your profile or something like that. It might also have small little animations that it adds in there. It adds like kind of a more refined polish to your project if you're doing that from the initial prompt. Great, so now our third prompt. Notice that this time we've swapped over to my Teams account. So I'm gonna make a note that this third prompt is 300 million tokens. And this time what we're actually gonna do is we're going to add an image to the prompt as well to act as a little bit of inspiration. So we'll paste the initial prompt, and we're also gonna copy. I've gone into Mobbin, which is a great resource if you guys don't know about it. And I found basically a site that I liked. It was the Copilot homepage. It's very similar to like OpenAI or Claude or something. I kind of like the color scheme in it. So I've copied this image. I'm gonna come back in and we're gonna paste the image into the initial prompt as well. Notice I've changed the language a little bit. I said I would like the page to use a screenshot as inspiration, so we'll just make sure we've got that in there. Great, so now we're also going to enhance the prompt on this one. And as soon as that's done, we're going to send off the planning mode build. All right, plan, build now. Great, so that's our third project. So you can see our second project has finished creating a plan. It's got 8 points. Usually I like to sort of skim through these, just make sure they all look good. Most of the time they are. Create a users table, create a feedback table. Now, an important thing to note with plan mode is often it'll actually come back to you and it'll ask you some clarifying questions. So in this case, it hasn't, but don't just immediately say implement this plan. Make sure that either above the summary or within the summary, it hasn't asked you feedback, clarifying questions. And if it has, then it's good for you to answer those while you're implementing the plan. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to send off this second build. Our first one, looks like our first one's finished with the initial build. So you can see this started off, I think it was 95.5 or 6. So it's used about 3 or 4 100,000 tokens. Let's see if it works. Come in, let's create an account, one@gmail.com. Just got a simple password in there and sign up. Great. So you can see that this was our first prompt that we used, and it looks like it's actually working okay. Feedback test. Oh, somebody's raised their hand. Eliane?
Yeah.
Hi.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Yeah, you were telling about the planning modes just before this, and then the question that you can get. I wonder, can you answer the questions and already implement the plan, or you need first answer the questions in plan mode and then only implement?
Very good question. Very good question. Thanks for asking. So you're right. We don't need to implement the plan immediately. So we'll use this third build as an example. So what we've done here is it's come back with our plan. Let's have a look at something. So for example, here's the UI UX design and polish. Apply a clean and modern color scheme using neutral tones, avoiding purple and indigo. You know what? Actually, I love purple. Let's integrate purple. So instead of clicking implement plan, notice that the plan mode down the bottom is still selected. I just deselected it, but I'll select it again to show that it's been selected. I'll say let's actually use purple as the theme color of the page. Sorry, was there another question?
No, someone else is unmuted. I think Drake.
Okay. I'll just keep on going on. If you guys do have a question, just raise your hand and I should be able to see it pop up. Okay, so what I've done this time is I said, let's use purple as a theme color for the page. So we're refining the plan and we're still in plan mode, and we can send that off. Now, if there's any issues that you find with the plan, just make sure you're in plan mode and you can keep refining this and refining it. Great, so I see Eric, you've raised your hand. Do you want to join in?
Yeah, I oftentimes have issues with the clarifying questions because it oftentimes focuses way too. When I answer a clarifying question, the clarifying question might be such a small, minute part of the entire thing that I'm requesting to build. When I answer the clarifying question, it focuses way too much on the thing that I clarified, and if it doesn't build everything that I wanted to in the one prompt, and I'm not even saying these are like super edge case or difficult prompts, it focuses way too much on the clarifying question as opposed to the actual core of what I was trying to build. So oftentimes actually just try to make it not do clarifying questions, adjust the system prompt to say don't ask clarifying questions.
Interesting. And that's kind of how our agent works. It prioritizes what you put in the chat, and considering that you're answering the questions, it now uses them as a large part to kind of guide the agent. So for one, that's some really good feedback that I can give back to the team. Thank you. Two, I think it depends on your technical ability and understanding. I think some people, if you're relatively new, it might be good to have these clarifying questions, or to prompt it, only ask me very large, important clarifying questions. But it sounds like, maybe if you're very technically capable and you feel like the minutia is distracting from the agent's ability, then you raise a good point to maybe say ignore or try and reduce those clarifying questions. Ben, I'll get to your question in a sec. Let me just implement this plan. So notice what we've done here is we've now changed. So we've changed this plan and it is applying a purple theme color scheme and various shades. So say we're happy with that, we're going to go off and implement this plan. Okay, Ben.
Hi, William. Sorry, just to the previous person's question, I've noticed that as well. However, what I have done to kind of circumvent that or to make it actually implement something better is when it asks you the questions, I answer the question and then I ask it at the same time to give the plan again, taking this into account. And then it kind of takes the question into consideration and then it gives you the detailed plan again, and then you implement. So I've noticed that if you ask it to give like the final detailed plan, it goes into like serious detail, and then when you implement it, it actually implements that plan accordingly, taking into account the previous things. The issue that I have seen though with plan mode, which is different to build mode, is that plan mode forgets everything after this. So after you have now implemented this, right, after you have clicked on implement, if you go into plan mode again, it has zero context. Is that true?
I believe that it probably starts a new API request each time it does that. That was the last I heard about a month ago. So I may be corrected on that, but that's...
The build mode takes into consideration the context again. Even if you go into plan, you talk to plan, and then when you go into build again, it's like it actually reads the whole thing from the start, which is great. But the plan mode does kind of, so then what I do is I copy my entire conversation, I put it into a notepad file, right, the TXT file.
Yep.
And I put it in the chat and I tell it, well, here's your context, right? And then you kind of
Great.
And that could be a cool thing, maybe just to kind of, give
yeah.
it context again, so that you don't have to copy everything in.
Yep, that's something I'll bring up with the team. Thank you, and also some really good feedback as well for others building to maybe use that larger context when it comes into the plan mode. Great, thanks for that, Ben.
Okay, one more question. This is kind of something that I was going to leave to the end, but while this thing is building, I am planning on building like a premium enterprise SaaS tool, right? But it's quite technical. I'm not a developer myself. I'm in finance. However, this thing is amazing. But is it, like, would you recommend that? Is it that amazing that I can really build like a huge system, right? Like almost like an accounting system. Is that, like, my idea is to build it to a point where a developer can then go and actually go and fix the thing.
I've built a complete ERP system, so yep.
Oh, really? Okay, so it's possible. Excellent. That's all I needed to know. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Scott. Oh, Eric, and if maybe that's a chance to connect if you want to discuss more about it. But yeah, Ben, we've seen some people build some incredible stuff with it, so that'll all be going up on our gallery page fairly soon as well.
Thanks, Eric.
Great. So just a little bit of housekeeping. I know there's a lot of discussions going on in the chat. I'm finding it hard. I can't really monitor that at the same time. So if you do want to interject, just put your hand up and I'll be able to see that and answer your questions. Great. Anyway, let's jump back into it. I think we're sort of running a little behind schedule, so I'll try and speed this up. We can see this is our third prompt. And, I'm actually having an issue. If we look at our token count, we can see that I think because I'm all in with one browser window in separate tabs, that it's actually changed me over into my other account. So that's why we're down to the 34 million tokens. Anyway, let's check that this third build has worked well. I'm just going to sign in. Sorry, I've got to create an account. Let's sign up. Great, so cool. It looks pretty good. Let's have a look if it works. Test feedback 1. Submit the feedback. So this is a good example. You see how it's given us that little, thank you, your feedback has been submitted. That is something that might not happen if you go into plan mode previously. So if we come into feedback, great. Okay, we can see the user that's logged it, and we can see the feedback back that they've made. So this is a pretty good start. Let's just go into the database. We'll check that. Okay, so it's made feedback. We can see that it's added one row test feedback. If we look at the columns, we've got 5 columns. Make a note of that for now. Sorry, we'll come back in here. You can see that we've got profiles. We've created a user. If we come into user management as well, you can see it's created a user as well. This is kind of on the Superbase database side of things, in like the users table. Whereas if we come into the database over here, we can see that we've also got the profiles table as well. And this is like if you wanted to add additional user information, first name, last name, preference, or something like that. It's good that it's created a user table as well. Great. So now that we're kind of happy with the database and how that's looking, let's go ahead. We're going to add a few more features. So we're going to say, when giving feedback, let's add the ability to add a screenshot and also a voice recording to the feedback item. Cool. Add necessary calls to the database. Great. I'm just going to enhance this prompt. Now, what I like to do when something is making a database change, I often find it smart to go into plan mode. And now we might see from Ben's point if the context has still been maintained. But I often find if I'm making kind of database changes, I like to go into plan mode as well. Ben, I see you've got your hand up. Is that for another question or you left it on? Okay, cool. Great, so while that's kicking off the build, what I'm gonna do is we're gonna get started on Google Authentication. Now, this is really exciting part. It really improves your click-through rate, sign-up rate when people come to your account. So to get started on this, what we're gonna do is we're gonna just Google search Google Cloud Console. So we come in here. I've already got a console set up. So basically we can just go to my console. You'll notice I've got a variety of projects up here. I'm going to show you what it's like configuring a new project to get completely started. So we're going to call this feedback portal internal, part of my organization. If you don't have an organization, that's fine, it'll still work. And then you create this project. Google's being very generous at the moment. They're giving a $300 free credit. So if you're using their Gemini API, that credit can go towards that. So it's actually quite a good incentive to get started with them. So that should be setting up now. You'll notice I need to change to my project, this new one, feedback portal internal. Great, so now that we're in here, we're gonna come up to the top and we're gonna jump down to APIs and services. The first thing we need to do is set up an OAuth consent screen. Now, let's just put a little bit of a pause on that. Let's come back in. We can see that the plan is ready. Here are our clarifying questions. Should there be a limit on number of screenshots? One, no limit to screenshots, but only one voice memo. 2, do you want automatic thumbnail generation? Yes, that sounds good. And 3, should voice recording have a maximum duration? 5 mins. Great, so we're going to take that off plan mode and we're going to give the feedback in 1 and we're going to send that off. Cool. Also, by the way, Erica, one of our customer success engineers, she's just joined the chat, so maybe she's been here for a while, but she's in the chat. She'll answer some questions there if you've got any. Great, so let's jump back into Google. We're going to get started. So what's the app name? We're going to call it Feedback Hub Internal. So I'm going to put my email in there. Next. Now, because we're creating an internal tool, Google's giving us the option to basically limit the Google signups to just be from your organization. So if you want everybody to join, anybody with a Google account, feel free to press external. But for the use case of those of you who are joining from like a larger company and you want to just create an internal tool that nobody else can sign up for, then internal is what you go for. And I'll demo that later. Next, contact email address, William Stackwitz.
William, is this being recorded?
Yes. So Zoom kind of limits the frame rate, so I'm recording it using an external tool, and then I'll be sharing that with everybody afterwards. So once we agree to probably worth having a quick read through this or summarizing it in like a AI LLM, but I'm just going to press continue for now. We're going to finish that. So that's basically step 1, is we had to create our OAuth kind of configuration page. Now let's come back into Bolt. We can see that this is finished this database configuration. Actually, you know what? This is the one that we want. That's still working. I'm just going to close these for the sake of simplicity. That's still working. We'll let it cook. Now, great. So now what we need to do is, we haven't configured. So now what we need to do is we'll come back into API and services, and we're going to create a credential. So this is if you've got cross-platform applications, so for Android, iOS, web, etc. Usually it seems like Google needs different credentials for different ones of those. So I'm going to come in to create a credential, and we're going to create OAuth client ID. Click on this. Our application type for this is a web application. Click on web. I usually leave this as web client 1. Then it's now asking us for these two. It wants an authorized JavaScript origin, and it wants an authorized redirect URL. So what we need to do here is we're just going to leave that for now. We're going to come back into Bolt. And now to get that information, we actually need to publish Bolt first. So we're going to come in, we're going to publish it. Notice we've actually just implemented a security scan as well. So we can review the security, and this is all part of the Bolt database. It's able to basically read through all of the policies that we have, and we can make a fix on these. If we've got time, I'll get to that later. It's just one click, ask Bolt to fix. But we're just going to publish this for the sake of saving time. Great, so while that's publishing, we're back here in Google, basically ready to go. Great, so we're published. Now we'll come into our project settings. We're going to come to authentication. By default, email is already configured. Recently, we've just enabled email templates, so you can modify the sign up or reset password emails that are sent out to your users, which we're really excited about. But let's go back into Google. Under authentication, we're going to open up Google, and now we're going to enable Google sign-in. Notice that it's asking us for our Google client ID and our OAuth client secret. So those we're going to leave as blank for now, but you see at the bottom here, it's giving us our authorized JavaScript origin. So we're going to copy that one, jump over, and we're going to add this in here. And it's also giving us our redirect URI. So we're going to copy that. And we're going to add this in there. Great, so once we've got those, we're ready to go to the next, and we press create. Now, it pops up with this kind of modal, and it's actually saying that the way that we view these secrets is kind of unique. So, and it's changing. Sometimes they give you one-time access, sometimes you will be able to review it. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to download the JSON just to be safe. So I'm also going to copy this client ID, but you'll notice once we go to our next screen, this is what we see. The web client that we've just configured is here. And if we click into it, you can see that we've got our information here. We've got our client ID that we just copied, and we've got our client secret. Now, what we're going to do is if we come back into Bolt, if we paste this client ID, sometimes I have an issue with this modal reloading. So here's the client secret that we're able to copy. And yeah, so this happens. It's a bit of a UI thing that we need to fix. We'll be on it ASAP. So a kind of a workaround that I have at the moment is basically creating a notepad. Hope you can still see my screen okay. And basically what I'll do is I'll copy, hope I'm not losing you guys. What I'll do is I'll get my client ID, so we'll copy that, we'll add it to my notes, and then I'll copy my client secret. I'll add that to my notes as well. Notice I'm going to delete all this afterwards, so it doesn't really matter, but when you're doing this, make sure you don't share it with anybody. Now, the reason, just to clarify why I've put it in notes, is because now when I come back into Bolts, and I'm in Authentication, I'm able to not lose that pop-up modal. So I'm going to paste that in there. I'm going to come grab my secret. I'm going to paste that in there. I'm going to save. We're going to make sure this toggle is on, and we'll press Save Changes. Cool. Great, so back to it. Did that not work?
Hold Shift and refresh. That sometimes fixes it on my side. I've had this issue, but I've found that it actually does save it in there. It just sometimes
it won't show it immediately. Here we go. There. Thank you. Yep. So there we go. Continue with Google. It's all saved. That UI is something I'll bring up with the team. We'll get it fixed in a week or two, or hopefully sooner. Anyway, so we've got Google is now added to our project. So let's test it. We're going to republish. And I will point something out that if we are, let's sign out from here, and we're trying to sign up with Google within the Bolt preview itself, we can't actually do it. So you'll notice if we hit this, you'll see this error that it refused to connect. That's perfectly natural. We can't actually sign in using Google within Bolt, but once the project's been published, let's open it up, and we're going to try and sign in with Google. Hopefully this works.
Same thing with Stripe integrations as well.
Thank you, Eric.
If you try to integrate a Stripe widget into that, it'll have the same issue. It'll
have the same issue. Thank you. Great. So now, actually, you know what? Let me go back. What I'm going to do is, because we selected internal, I'm going to try and sign up with my personal account. And you'll notice Feedback Hub internal can only be used within its organization. So they're fantastic. It's denied anybody else access to this. Also notice that Google uses the name Feedback Hub internal, and that's the name of the project that we've given, the name when we were setting up our credentials or our OAuth consent screen. So let me come back in to our actual preview. So we're going to sign up. I'll just refresh, sign up. We'll sign in with Google. We'll test it with my actual StaffBlitz account. Sign into Feedback Hub internal. Great, so we're going to press continue. And just like that, we've signed in using Google. Now, because Google passes on a bit of the information through this API, we can actually do some fun, interesting things like using their display picture. So we can prompt it when a user signs in with Google, when a user, creates an account with Google, please use their profile avatar in the page header. Great, so we'll send that off. So another thing I like about enhanced prompt is it kind of gives you, it explains sort of what dimensions it's thinking about, and it just gives you a bit more clarity. Great, so we're signed in with Google. Let's test feedback 2. We're going to submit that. Feedback, great, so we've got feedback 1, feedback 2 in there. Great, so that's doing the profile avatar. Now, something else I'd like to show you. I think we actually had a bit of an issue. I think I got a bit distracted and we never actually implemented that, the screenshot or the voice. And I may have actually done that in one of the other projects by accident. So I'm gonna reprompt that in a minute. And what I'm gonna show you is kind of our ability to query the database. So with Bolt.New database, you now have the the option to query. So if we come up here in the top right, notice that it kind of comes, it creates a default SQL query. And if we run that, it'll show us all the records, right? Now, this can be a really powerful tool. If you wanted, say for example, you wanted to know what percentage of your feedback used voice notes and what percentage didn't, then some of these, oh, sorry, I'm just starting to get an echo. Okay, great. Yeah, so as we build out our database and we add new columns into certain tables, it'll populate with different information. And as I said, if we wanted to know what percentage of our feedback records had a voice note compared to what didn't, or what had screenshots compared to what didn't, that's where we can use this query. And it may look complicated. I'm sure some of you guys are familiar with SQL. Some of you are probably experts at it. But for those who aren't, I'll give you basically a brief understanding. Is when you see public, that's basically how the databases are bucketed. And then you'll know how it's sort of querying feedback. That's because that's the name of the data table here. So if we're looking in the query itself, this bit of information where it says public.feedback, that is specific to this table. So it's actually good if we were to create like a specific query to actually use this as like a starting point. So a lot of words, let me show you what I mean by that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy the current query, and let's say what we want to do is we want to find, actually, you know what? I'm going to come back to this example in a hot second. Let me just add the ability to, I'm going to sign in with our original email address. I'm going to add the ability to add voice notes and screenshots, and then I'll show you what I mean. So when leaving feedback, give the user the ability to add a screenshot to the feedback as well. This time I've just sent it off raw. We'll see how well it does. Most of the time it's pretty successful. Great, so that's thinking. Coming back to that kind of SQL example that I was giving you while it's building this out, come into the database. We're going to query the database. I'm going to copy this. I'm going to jump over into ChatGPT. I'm going to say, here's a basic SQL query for my database. I'll say, let's see if this works. I would like you to modify it so that it checks for all rows that have the number 2 in the content column. So what I mean by that is if we look back in, let me stop dictation. If I come back into our database, in our content column here, we've got test feedback 2 and test feedback 1. So I'm just trying to search for this one in particular. So hopefully, let's check out our prompt. I would like you to modify it so that it checks for all rows that have the number 2 in the context column. Great, let's see how well this does. Okay, so here's our SQL. We're going to copy the code. We're going to jump back into Bolt. We're going to add a query. And let's see how well this works. Fantastic. So you can see now we've been able to query our database. We've just returned the row that has the number 2 in it, and you see, like, LLMs are fantastic at SQL, which is to our benefit. You can being able to query the data like this is an essential tool of all project managers, and basically for founders, anybody who's a sort of a solopreneur like yourself, or building with Bolt. It's almost like a superpower to be able to query all of this data, and you can get really creative with it, and it can give you some really unique kind of user insights into their behavior. So I really encourage spending some time querying your database, just to sort of help understand. You might get some great insights. Great, so let's jump back into the project. Let's see how it's done on the screenshot feature. So I see we've got almost 15 minutes left. Do we have any questions for anybody so far? No, all doing good. Oh, Eric?
No, I was just going to say, I'm really interested in the email system.
Yes, okay.
There's been customization that's been done in the, or changing done in the.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Thanks for that feedback. I'll jump into that. Let's test this feature. We'll see if it works. So I'll add some feedback. Feedback 3. Oops. Let's add a screenshot in here. Great. So add this screenshot. Submit feedback. Feedback successful. Let's view the feedback. Okay, so we've got a bit of a problem with the thumbnail of the image, which is something that we'll be able to prompt and fix, but we can see that, yeah, so the image isn't loading properly. So after uploading an image in the give feedback and submitting it, I can't preview it properly in the view feedback page. Great, so we'll send that off. And now let's, while that's doing its work, Eric will touch on your question. So let's come into our authentication. We're going to jump into our emails. And was it the email template in particular that you were curious about, Eric?
Yeah, just any of the system-generated emails. That's something I've got multiple use cases for, but
yes.
I've shied away from it. I've used some things like Resend and tried to integrate with that, but this would be probably likely better.
Yeah, and may I point out that this is such a good point, because if you think about the customer experience and all of the touch points that they're receiving from your brand, often these emails are actually a very large part of them, especially in the early days. Like when they sign up and they receive like a confirmation email, or they're resetting their password or anything of that like, that's when they get your branded content. And it's really nice to kind of have something that sort of is unique to your brand. So I'll show you the 6 that we've integrated so far. We've got the sign up confirmation, inviting a new user. We've got a magic link as well, changing their email address, resetting password, and authentication. So confirm user sign up. Let's start on this. So basically, we have all of the HTML source here, and we can also preview how it looks. Obviously, incredibly basic. We can see that the preview transfers our code changes live. So this, if you wanted to write it all out in HTML, feel free. I'm sure like an LLM would do a pretty good job of that. But there's also some fantastic tools out there. So I'm going to show you a resource that I've been looking into recently. This is React Email 5. It was just released like, I think just sort of in the last week or so, at least this 5th version. And they're allowing you to add React within emails. I haven't been able to get that to work through Bolt, but you can just use HTML and it still works as like a fantastic resource. So react.email, and you can come and look at these components. So let's say we want to start with a header. We're going to come in here and say we like the look of this header. We're going to jump over. We can preview what it looks like on mobile devices as well. We're going to come in. This is all the HTML to create that. We're going to copy that. We're going to jump back into Bolt, into our email templates. And under our confirm sign up, we're going to paste all of that new code and we're going to preview it. So you can see we've been able to transfer that template, no problem. We're We're going to save those changes. Now let's come back in. Oh, Louis? Louis?
Yeah.
Question?
Quick question. The email templates you showed us in Bolt, if the application I'm developing is a white label and we have clients using it, can those emails come from the client?
Yeah, great question. So I'll show you kind of like the customizations that we have in there. So if we come back into the email templates, at the moment we've got our site URL. We've got, I think that's their email. This I'm not fully familiar with just yet. There is documentation about each of these within our new Bolt documentation that we put up. So I know Supabase has a slightly more extensive list on this, and we're working on basically pulling through as much information as we can. So let's see how site URL works for now. I see, Andrew, you've got your hand raised as well.
Yeah, this is just for kind of the account setup sort of things. It's not about actually yet about sending custom messages, correct?
Yes.
Like if I want to send a notification in the system when something's happened, like a task is assigned, I still have to use something external, correct?
Yes. This is more kind of like from the user sign-up standpoint. Great.
N8N plus Bolt or Supabase integration, new row added is what I've done.
Great. Yeah, so, here's, as this is a new tool we've just integrated in the last week, it's not previewing your site URL. That's probably something we'll have on our roadmap as well. But the idea is that we would like to make this custom. So thanks for that question. It's something I can also pass. Is that a demand that you're looking for, and that's a sort of an expected thing?
Yes.
Yes.
I would fully agree with Andrew. And also, it'd be great if Bolt could interact with this, just as it'd be great if Bolt could write this and not just have to do an external tool. Yeah,
that's some really good feedback as well. Great, so let's come back. So say we're happy with that header. Maybe we've got a article. We like the look of this, so we're going to copy this code, jump back into Bolt. We'll add this under the header, save those changes. Now I'm going to grab a footer. So we like the look of this one. We're going to make sure it's HTML, copy it, jump back into Bolt. Scroll to the bottom. Save those changes. And now if we preview it, there are a few annoying UI tweaks here that it, sometimes loses the place of this modal when you change tabs. So these are all things that we're working on. We'll jump back into preview. So now you can see we've got a very nice looking email, so much better than what some of these other ones look like, agreed? So you can put your own image in there. You can say, welcome to Bolt, whatever it may be, add a CTA, and you've got your nice footer at the bottom there. Great, does that kind of answer that question you were looking for? Is there anything else on that, Eric, that you were hoping to learn about?
No, this is great. This is a email template feature. Just frankly didn't even know. Hadn't seen the email that this had been added yet.
Yeah. No, it's just very recent. One of the benefits of our continuous integration and development that we've been working on.
I don't remember who asked, but at one point it was always redirecting to like localhost 3030 or something like that. Has that been fixed?
In terms of the email confirmation?
In the link that if a sign up happened, it would send an email link. It was not customized the template without connecting to your own Supabase using the Bolt database. It would send a sign up link, but when you clicked it, the link, it did work, but it redirected to as long as the link was clicked, it made you authenticated, but it took you to like a localhost 3030 as opposed to actually going somewhere.
So that's a really good point, and I hope the live demo gods aren't against me today, but let's try it. So we're gonna do an invite user. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put all that new HTML inside. I just wanna find inside our invite to user, designing with furniture. Find. Won't scroll through that. Anyway, so we've got our preview of our invite user link. The subject heading is you've been inviting test. We're going to save those changes. Great. So this is another recent feature that we've added under user management. We can actually invite users directly from inside here. So we're going to send an invitation. I'm going to do my personal email address because I think my current one's already been invited. I'm going to add that, and then we're going to say invite. So if I go to my email, let's have a look. Sorry, you don't need to see all my personal emails, but here we go. You have been invited test, and that email that we just created is here. So it doesn't have a link. That's something that we'd need to do in here. Invite user. Save. Now let's come back in here. User management. I'm going to send out another invitation. I wonder if I can do it to my StackBlitz account. Add. Because I've already been registered.
Might be able to just add a plus after it.
Yeah,
Like a plus.
You know what, I'm just going to delete the user here. So you can see that because I sent that invitation to my personal email address, now my last sign in is null. So it kind of shows that they haven't signed in just yet. So I'll send an invitation. Oh, what am I doing? Add invite. Superbase auth, you've been invited. So here we go. Here, so this is one of our links. Let's try this first one. And I think because we're already signed in, it took us directly to into the app. So there we go. That's does that answer the question, Eric?
Yeah, that's great. It used to be a localhost 3030.
Fantastic. Great. So we've only got a few more minutes left. Do we have any more questions for anybody? I see the chat's been popping off. Hope you've all enjoyed the workshop. Next week we're actually going to be going over like using UI libraries, and so how to import a free open UI library into your project and creating a bit of a design system around basically your project it reduces a lot of the tokens consumed, it speeds up your development, and it's also a lot better for your accessibility, it's better for the responsiveness of the website, SEO, it's great for a lot of things. So that's next week's agenda. Ben, I see you've got your hand raised.
Hi, William. So a question for you and whoever here is perhaps a great developer. Mm-hmm. So whilst I'm building this project, right, I have various options of how to build it, because at the end of the day, a developer needs to come in and kind of fix the thing anyways, right, to some degree, because it's quite a large project. Now, I was wondering whether to build it on various projects for the developer then to combine at the end, or should it all be based on one project? Because I noticed that if I base it on one project, the token usage is obviously significantly more because it kind of needs to generate context on everything every time, right? Unless you can route it into a specific area, which I'm also not that capable of doing. So is it very difficult for a developer to take, let's say, 5 different projects and to merge them at the end? Or is it better for me to focus on one project, build it out
Good question.
as much as I can in one thing, and then the developer comes in and he can then go and fix it?
Good question. Sort of intertwining those databases on the back end can get quite messy and quite tricky. So I would highly recommend doing it as one project. And if the context is a bit of an issue for you, do you know about context clearing?
Yes.
Yeah. That's a fantastic tool to use. For those of you who don't know about context clearing, just do /clear. And that basically clears the context that's loaded into the agent, which means now next time you make a prompt, instead of all the previous context, it just loads what's relevant to what you're requesting that specific time. So yeah, unless you've got completely disconnected databases, which is okay. In some circumstances that might work, but pretty much most of the time, I think having one connected unified database is the way to go. Oh yeah.
From a because I know the previous Bolt, right? Bolt.New one.
Yeah. Wait, sorry, just let me interrupt for a second because I know we're at time. I'll answer these questions, but for everybody else who needs to leave, first of all, thanks so much for joining. I hope you've enjoyed it. Would love to get some feedback on what you thought, how this workshop went. This is obviously my first time running this, and we want to create more content for you guys to learn. And so we'd love to get your feedback. So if you want to leave that in the chat, that'd be absolutely fantastic so that we can make these better and better going forward. Great. Sorry about that, Ben. Back to you.